Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Liverpool this weekend. We'll start off with Vinny from Sky.
David, last season you had to deal with the significance of the last ever Goodison derby. And we probably saw what it meant with James Tarkowski's equaliser and the celebrations we saw there as well. But this time it's the first derby at Hill Dickinson. In terms of significance, again, how do you compare the two?
That was amazing, the last game at Goodison, I have to say, and privileged that I was in that position to take the team. A bit sad to leave Goodison because it was so important to me, my family, everybody. We over many years, over 11-year tenure before that. So, but leaving it in a good way was pleasing. The team was in a better position, and we won our last game as well. So really pleased with that. And look, we're now in the Hill Dicky now, and we're enjoying it.
It's the chance for 3 consecutive wins at home as well for the first time. How significant do you feel steps like that are when you're settling in?
Well, I think when you move to a new stadium, I think it's always difficult. You look through the records of nearly all the teams who've built new stadiums or moved to them. I think it's never been particularly easy. We've had our ups and downs in it. We had a great start, maybe a bit in the middle, not so good. We're finding a little bit better form now, so I hope we can maintain that. We've got 3 big games at the Hill Dickinson to play before the end of the season, so looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get some good results.
Ahead of this derby as well, how much does catching Liverpool come into the thinking, particularly with potential for a 5th place finish still up for grabs?
Well, all we can do is try and catch whoever's above us, and I think Brentford are the ones who are above us at the moment. They're first in it, and so we've got to attempt to try and get whoever we can, and but probably more importantly is to make sure that we don't let anybody catch us, because if we stay in a strong position, then we'll give ourselves every chance of maybe getting something regarding Europe, maybe not. But we've got to try and make sure we fend off all the other teams as well.
Yeah, this kind of follows on. I mean, what's it like getting to this stage of the season, given what the club's been through, with no real massive dramas to contend with, but still plenty to play for in essence as well?
I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that with 6 games to go, we've got something to play for here. Over the recent years, it's been the wrong thing we've been playing for. But this year, we're getting a bit closer to the stuff you would hope we would be involved in. So I'm hoping we can keep it going, and we keep that sort of dream alive, and let's see what happens.
Just away from the game, the positive noises seem to be coming from the owners about your own situation here at the football club and potentially extending your contract. I just wonder, is it a case of talks having started yet, and how much do you want to stay beyond next season as well?
There's no need to start any talks now, because I've got too much in my mind. I've got, as I said, these 6 games will be crucial for how things go. I want Everton to be in this position every year, having a chance of the top places. So it's not that important to me at the moment while we're in this situation.
Thanks, David. Good luck.
Cheers.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to Naz at Premier League Productions.
Hi there.
Hi, David. How important is it for your team, A, to start well in the derby game, but also to have that calmness and composure in the midst of all the hustle and bustle and the hype of the game?
Well, I think everybody likes that part. That's what the derbies do quite often. No, I think that you always want to start games well if you can. But I suppose maybe finishing them well might be the best thing, really, which the finish I would include being winning. So, look, we need to do that. We need to play well, and we'll need to start the game well as well.
Beto's recent run has come at a timely point. How pleased are you for him? Because he's had his struggles in terms of goal scoring, but we're seeing now some really good signs, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And look, I'm fortunate I get to see him all year, and I've seen lots of good signs all year, but maybe when it came down to the actions on the pitch, he just couldn't reproduce what we'd seen. I think his biggest thing I keep saying to people is, his effort to work is as big as MD, and his attitude to try and improve is so good. So sometimes, I keep saying it, the sort of the harder you work, the luckier you get, and I hope he stays that way for the coming games.
And finally, from me, in terms of Liverpool's recent run, is it a good time to be playing them? 4 losses in the last 5?
Yeah, well, I don't watch Liverpool's results really, and I don't really take an awful lot to do with it. I look after Everton, so my job's to see that we try and do as well as we can. With a good point at Brentford, considering where they are, and them in a similar position as us, with a good home win before that. So I can only focus on us, and hopefully that we can keep it going. As I said, we've got 6 games in the Premier League to go, and we're in with a shout. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that going, certainly up to the last few games. Tap.
Thanks, Niles. We'll go to Julia at Radio Merseyside.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, David. 6 games to go. How are your players rising to this European challenge?
Well, if they don't rise to it, then I'd be wondering what they would rise to, because over the years, if it's having a last game of the season and avoiding relegation, well, that's nothing to celebrate, really. I don't think you can celebrate being a team in the relegation position and just surviving. So I think you can celebrate if you're winning trophies or you're challenging for Europe. So I hope they're going to enjoy this side of it rather than the side I've maybe seen before.
2 players that know about Merseyside derbies, Leighton Baines and Seamus Coleman. And I was reading in the week about how they visited you when you were looking to come back and the conversations you had, and they convinced you that was what you should do. You seem to have a really close relationship with the two of them. You've known them a long time. How much do you rely on them since you've come back?
Well, first of all, they were 2 brilliant players for me at the time, and let's be fair, they were 2 great signings, Seamus and Bainesy. Bainesy went on to be probably as good a left back as England had in the level of players in English football at that time as well. And if you look at Seamus, what he's done, I trust both of them. And the conversation I had was great. They were the ones that pushed me over the edge as well. They said, no, why would you not? You'll be able to fix it. And they thought that things weren't in a great place, and they needed it fixed. Seamus was obviously champion, to get things fixed, because he'd been carrying a lot of the can for a lot of people here.
When you have 2 players like that you clearly respect and they respect you and they say that to you, what does that mean to you? Because that's still quite an unusual relationship to have, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd be amazed, Julia, how many of the boys who I keep in touch with and come to see us, recently, from some Tim Cahill or Tim Howard or Nigel Martin or whoever you want to call. There's a lot of the players around, and a lot of the younger boys as well who were here at the time, who've gone on in careers and other clubs. They're all still in contact and keep coming back and saying hello. So I think as being a manager, the big part is that when it's all over and it's done, you'll always have a chance to go and have a beer with them and enjoy it, and they can tell you a few stories which you didn't know about, or maybe you should have known about. So, but look, I've got to say the group of players we had at the time before was great, and I have to say there's a lot about the group we've got here at the moment are matching it, I've got to say.
Yeah, someone I'm sure who is matching it is Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. He's had a great season. I know he came in and there was probably quite a lot of expectation. I think Jack Grealish probably took the headlines from him a little bit when he joined. How close are we seeing where he should be now? Do you think there's a little bit more to him, and is he looking forward to the derby?
Yeah, I think Kiernan will improve as he goes on. I think that to come into a side and have such a good first season is never that easy, and you're right. I think Jack probably took a lot of the limelight off Kiernan, and maybe in a good way as well. Maybe he wasn't put under quite so much pressure in the opening weeks of the season, but I have to say he's helped us greatly. He's a really good boy, trains well, great professional to go along with his footballing abilities. So no, we're pleased that it's been a good signing.
And just team news. Everyone looking okay apart from Jack, obviously.
Yeah, everybody at the moment. Charlie Alcaraz is been back training now, so I think we're as much close to full as we possibly can be.
Thanks, Julia. Any further questions in the open section before we move on?
I'll just ask actually then. We've spoken about them before. The 1878s are doing a display. It's often been for the wrong reasons, because of the wrong end of the table. To be doing this and celebrating the club's history, again, what does it mean to you and the players?
It's brilliant, and it really is, because look, we need to rebuild a lot of relationships at the club, mainly with a lot of the supporters, and any great support which people are putting up and doing it for themselves and whatnot is fabulous, and that's what great football clubs do. The supporters get behind their team.
Thank you, good luck.
Nick?
Hi, David.
Hi,
Nick
Dave.
said from Reuters.
Yeah.
Just if you look back on your second spell here now, and you look at what the team when you arrived and what it is now, how has it matured, perhaps on and off the pitch? What kind of has pleased you the most?
I actually think the team I took over was a good team. I think there's a lot of good players. I think obviously the hardship what Everton were going through, and some of it looks as if it might be unjust when you look at some of the sort of I'm going to say fines, but some of the what's the word I don't know, would be not as bad as what Everton seem to have had, or it seems to be that way. So I think that there was a lot of good things, but maybe hard to get out of that hole at the time. I think our results last season, I think if you look at our results probably from January onwards, we've done really, really well. We get out of trouble, new stadium, leaving the old one, all those things came into play. I think we've added. We'd like to continue going on, adding where we go along to keep building the club if we can. So I think we've made quite a big step, but even the next part becomes quite difficult because the step this year has been quite big. It might not be come the end of the season. We may find that we're 14th or 15th, but I think you'd have to say for most of the season we've not been in really any difficulty, which is probably a really good thing to say.
Any further questions before we move on? No? Okay, thank you.